In today's exploration, we delve into a story where the lines between urban legend and historical truth blur intriguingly. At the heart of our journey lies the Bath School disaster, a devastating event etched in the annals of American history. Often overshadowed by a widely circulated myth, this tragedy is mistakenly believed by some to have occurred as a grim April Fool's Day prank gone terribly wrong. Our focus will be to contrast this urban legend, which claims a school principal orchestrated an explosive prank on April 1st, with the actual events that transpired on May 18, 1927. As we navigate through these narratives, it is imperative to approach this subject with a deep sense of respect and sensitivity. The Bath School disaster, a true event marked by loss and horror, demands our solemn remembrance and thoughtful reflection. In doing so, we honor the memory of those affected and underscore the importance of distinguishing between myth and reality in our collective memory. In the tapestry of urban legends, few are as chilling and complex as the April 1st version of the Bath School disaster. This grim tale, spun from the threads of history and hearsay, narrates a haunting story. A school principal, driven by a mischievous yet dark intent, allegedly rigs an entire school with explosives. The purported motive? To orchestrate the most dramatic and devastating April Fool's Day prank imaginable. As the legend goes, this horrifying act resulted in an immense tragedy, transforming an occasion known for lighthearted trickery into a day of unforgettable horror. The origin of this version is nebulous, weaving through the corridors of whispered gossip and sensationalist retellings. It likely sprang from a misinterpretation or deliberate warping of the actual events, mutating over time into a tale more befitting the narrative appetites of those who relish in dark folklore. The legend resonates powerfully in the collective psyche, striking chords of fear and fascinations with its stark blend of innocence and malice. A school, a place of learning and safety, becomes the setting for a macabre plot, twisting a typically joyful day into a scene of unspeakable tragedy. The allure of this version lies in its raw emotional impact and the shocking juxtaposition of themes. It plays on the universal understanding of April Fool's Day as a time for harmless pranks, thereby magnifying the horror when those pranks are imagined to take a lethal turn. This story is embroidered with irony. What is meant to be a joke becomes a catastrophic reality, teaching a grim lesson about the limits of humor and the potential consequences of reckless actions. Central to the gripping nature of this urban legend are its sensational elements. The idea of a school principal, a figure of authority and trust, orchestrating such a horrific act adds a layer of betrayal and shock to the narrative. It challenges our notions of safety and trust within educational institutions, heightening the emotional impact of the tale. Moreover, this version of the story serves as a moral lesson, a cautionary tale about the extremes of practical jokes and the potential for harm in thoughtless actions. It echoes the timeless theme of many urban legends, the boundary between fun and folly, and how easily one can slip into the other. The Bath School disaster, as imagined in this April 1st legend, becomes a dark mirror reflecting our deepest anxieties about trust, safety, and the consequences of unbridled mischief. In sum, the April 1st urban legend of the Bath School disaster is a potent mixture of horror, irony, and moral contemplation. It taps into our deepest fears and serves as a stark reminder of the fine line between innocent pranks and catastrophic outcomes. As we dissect this narrative, it's crucial to remember its fictional nature, distinguishing it clearly from the real tragedy that occurred in Bath, Michigan in 1927. As we emerge from the shadowy realm of urban legend, it's vital to anchor ourselves back into the realm of documented history. The distinction between myth and reality is crucial, especially when dealing with events that carry profound historical weight. The Bath school disaster, shrouded in the mists of myth, in reality stands as one of the most harrowing incidents in American history. On May 18, 1927, the small town of Bath, Michigan, witnessed an unimaginable tragedy, not born of prank or jest, but of deep-seated malice and despair. Andrew Kehoe, a disgruntled school board member, methodically executed a plan that culminated in a series of deadly explosions, resulting in significant loss of life and marking a dark day in the annals of American schooling. As we delve into the actual events, it's important to approach this historical truth with solemnity and respect, understanding its enduring impact and significance. The Bath school disaster remains one of the darkest moments in American educational history, a tragedy stemming not from a whimsical prank, but from calculated malevolence. This cataclysm unfolded in the peaceful rural town of Bath, Michigan, in the spring of 1927, an era marked by economic struggle and the waning days of the Roaring Twenties. Central to the story is Andrew Kehoe, a figure who would become synonymous with the tragedy. Kehoe, the Bath School Board's treasurer and a local farmer, was known for his technical skills, but also for his contentious demeanor, especially over financial issues. Grievances over property taxes and perceived financial mismanagement by the school district, combined with personal financial troubles and the impending foreclosure of his farm, fueled Kehoe's descent into vengeful planning. Kehoe's meticulous and sinister scheme involved months of preparation. He purchased explosives and discreetly planted them throughout the Bath Consolidated School, a building that held the community's heart in its classrooms, where children from the surrounding rural areas came to learn. His intent was catastrophic: to obliterate the symbol of the community and the source of his grievances. On the fateful morning of May 18, 1927, the town of Bath awoke to an ordinary day, unaware of the horror that would soon unfold. The initial explosion occurred at Kehoe's farm, where he set off incendiary devices, destroying his buildings and killing his wife. The primary tragedy struck shortly after 9:45 a.m., when more than 500 pounds of dynamite and pyritol, which Kehoe had hidden in the school's basement, detonated. The north wing of the school collapsed, trapping and killing dozens of students and teachers in the rubble. The explosion was heard for miles. Residents rushed to the school, their initial confusion quickly turning to horror as the extent of the devastation became clear. Parents frantically searched for their children among the chaos and destruction. Relief efforts were immediate and desperate, with community members, police, and even children participating in rescue operations. In a final act of destruction, Kehoe drove up to the school in his truck, which he had also loaded with explosives. He called the school superintendent near the truck and then detonated the explosives, killing himself, the superintendent, and several others. This act of suicide bombing was among the first of its kind in American history. The aftermath was heart-wrenching. In total, 38 children and 6 adults were killed, and at least 58 others were injured. The Bath school disaster became the deadliest act of mass murder in a school in U.S. history, a record it disturbingly still holds. The community's response was a blend of profound grief and resilience. The town, though small and tightly knit, was forever altered. Vigils, funerals, and memorials filled the days following the tragedy. Aid came from across the country, reflecting the national impact and shock the event had caused. The school was eventually demolished, and a new school was built nearby. A park and memorial were established at the site of the old school to honor the victims. In terms of historical significance, the Bath school disaster stands as a somber reminder of the potential for violence in seemingly safe spaces and the destructive power of personal vendetta. It predates more recent school tragedies, yet its lessons and warnings remain profoundly relevant. The event led to changes in school safety and emergency response protocols, although Kehoe's motivations, a mixture of personal revenge, mental instability, and economic grievances, complicate efforts to derive clear-cut lessons from this catastrophe. The Bath School disaster, unlike the April 1st urban legend, reflects a much more complex and tragic reality. It's a poignant example of how true events can sometimes surpass fiction in their horror and impact, and how the memory of such events must be preserved and respected in the annals of history. The April 1st urban legend and the actual Bath School disaster offer a stark study in contrast, illustrating how truth and fiction can diverge, each carrying its own set of implications and lessons. The urban legend depicts the disaster as an April Fool's prank gone horrifically awry, executed by a school principal. This version taps into the universal understanding of April Fool's Day as a time for harmless tricks, thus heightening the shock value when these tricks are imagined to take a lethal turn. The real tragedy, however, was not an impulsive act of jest, but a premeditated act of violence by Andrew Kehoe, driven by personal vendettas and complex socio-economic factors. The legend simplifies the motives to a mere prank, while the reality presents a multi-layered web of personal grievance, financial despair, and calculated revenge. The emergence of the April 1st myth can be attributed to several factors. Human nature's penchant for sensationalism often leads to the embellishments of facts, especially in tragic circumstances. The narrative of a prank aligns with our inherent interest in irony and dramatic plot twists, making it a more intriguing story to pass along, despite its inaccuracy. Furthermore, the myth might have been fueled by a societal need to rationalize the irrational, to ascribe some sort of comprehensible motive, however misguided, to an act that is otherwise senselessly violent. This discrepancy between the urban legend and the historical reality underscores the dangers of misinformation. The fictionalization of a real tragedy not only distorts the historical record, but can also trivialize the suffering of those affected. In an era where information spreads rapidly and often without thorough verification, the responsibility to maintain historical accuracy becomes paramount. Misinformation can obscure important lessons from the past and hinder our ability to address similar challenges in the future. The comparison between these two narratives serves as a reminder of the importance of critical thinking and the need for a careful examination of the sources of our information. It also highlights the role of storytelling in shaping our understanding of past events and the ethical responsibility that comes with recounting history, especially when it involves real-life tragedies. The Bath School disaster, in both its real and mythologized forms, teaches us about the power of narratives and the necessity of preserving the truth in our collective memory. In conclusion, our journey through the Bath School disaster reveals a poignant contrast between myth and reality. We uncovered how the April 1st urban legend, with its dramatic narrative of a prank turned catastrophic, diverges starkly from the actual events of May 18, 1927. The real tragedy, marked by Andrew Kehoe's calculated violence, reflects complex motives far removed from the simplicity of an April Fool's Day jest. This comparison underscores the critical importance of discerning facts from fiction and the responsibility that comes with recounting historical events. As we reflect on the Bath School disaster, we're reminded of the profound impact such events have on communities and the enduring importance of remembering those affected. Let us honor the memory of the 38 children and 6 adults who lost their lives in this tragedy and recognize the resilience of the Bath community in its aftermath. This story, both in its true form and its mythical rendition, serves as a somber testament to the need for empathy, understanding, and factual integrity in the way we share and preserve our collective history. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the Bath School disaster, a journey through the realms of myth and historical truth. I invite you to share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. How do you think the understanding of such historical events shapes our perspective on current issues? What are your views on the impact of urban legends versus historical realities? Your insights and opinions are valuable, and I look forward to reading your perspectives. Additionally, if you have any similar historical events or urban legends that intrigue you, feel free to share them with us. Let's keep the conversation going and continue to learn from our past. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Remember, every story has multiple facets, and it's our collective discussion that brings these facets to light.